Hello, Jets community. I wanted to report back the survey results that you shared. Thank you to everyone who took a few minutes out of their day. I know everyone is super busy to give us some honest feedback to help us move forward with the bond issue. And I understand, and I completely agree. We don't want the taxes to increase. However, there is a necessity to keep the school buildings running and operating at a high level for our students. And that's something that we really want to be able to address in partnership with you. We know that it's a huge commitment, and I thought it would be beneficial to go through and share the survey results with you. So I'll also share the survey results and address some of your questions that you posted in the comments section. So the first one, modernizing and improving the electrical and technology capacity at the middle school and high school. I would consider this a priority project, especially in the middle school, given the age of the building. And it looks like the vast majority of the people who participated, which were 190, agree with that. Replacing the heating, cooling, and ventilation units at the middle and the high school. Again, 84%, most of the community agrees on that. I did receive a really well-written question asking to clarify what was replaced during the pandemic. Those were the air handlers. Those weren't the heating and cooling units. So a major problem at the buildings was the fact that the air handler units stopped working. And what that was causing is the air in the school to be stale, meaning that it wasn't circulating in fresh air throughout the day. So that became a priority during the pandemic and needed to be a priority anyway. If we want our students and our staff to function at a high level, having that airflow and air circulation is very important. So that was a massive project that was paid for through the COVID funds. So that did not cost the taxpayers any money, and that was a huge project to get the air handler units running at a high level. This would be to replace the heating and ventilation and air conditioning units. And I think the best thing that I can say to help everyone understand, these units are extremely old, especially at the middle school. And on average, we're putting, $2, $3, $4, $5, sometimes even $10,000 a month into these units during the winter months to help keep the schools open. And that is just to keep them running because the age on those units is such that they're never going to be fully healthy units. So that's why that price tag is so large, and it would be fantastic to be able to allocate those funds somewhere else if we're able to get everything replaced. Improving the plumbing at the middle school, that's a major issue. This would also affect the middle school gym. A lot of the plumbing at the middle school is underneath the middle school gym, which makes it impossible to get to repair fully. We have several sinks and several toilets in the middle school that aren't even operational. So that plumbing needs to actually be moved out from underneath that middle school gym. And then we also need to renovate the gym itself because the flooring's warped. It can't be refurbished any longer. I believe that's original flooring. So that would encompass some of that. So on to the elementary school. Again, the building is about 30 years old and it needs some electrical upgrades. It was a different world 30 years ago, especially with technology and our ability to, handle all the different forms of equipment that are plugged in. Again, same deal with the elementary HVAC. We added the air handler unit to circulate fresh air into the building. It did not cover the actual heating and cooling units. Had another question about the rain shield. So at the elementary school, especially on the side of the building that gets the most weather, we have issues with rain seeping through the block. We pay every 4 or 5 years to have it sealed. It's a pretty high cost. And this rain shield would permanently address that issue with the block so that we don't have any more risk of water damage or some of the problems that come with moisture leaking into the building. High school and middle school safety and security upgrades, main entrance. Another great question in the surveys is, we talk about the security grant that we received from the state, and that does cover a lot of our security updates. We were able to install a camera system that's located in the parking lot so that we have secure parking lot areas and we can keep track of things that occur there. We were able to include the Raptor system that allows us to do a quick background check on people that enter the building. We were able to provide high-end training to our security staff through the state of Ohio. So we were able to do a lot with those security grants. We were able to upgrade our communication systems that we can operate and communicate regardless of what type of emergencies in our area. So huge credit to Mr. Mangus and our Treasury Department for making that happen. But those don't cover the costs of getting our entryways up to date for security purposes. So some people ask what that would be, and probably the best way I could describe it is that it creates a barrier between the school and the students and any visitor that enters the building. It also allows our secretaries or security staff to have a visual on everybody that enters. So essentially they would enter the building, and then there would be another set of locked doors. There would be a window or a entry point that, think of a counter at a doctor's office, where the person would check in and then they would be released into the building. The way that we're operating now, we don't have that at any of the three buildings. You know, once you're in, you're in. And at the high school and the middle school, with our one entrance being right in the middle of the two buildings, we have very little control once somebody's in. So those would be major upgrades that would definitely enhance the safety and security of our students and staff on campus. Fire protection systems, you can see 77.8 to 22.2 that people were in agreement of that. Same at the elementary school, high levels of agreement. And we would create the same type of entry point at the elementary school. We have a lot of paving issues. If you have a child at the elementary school, there are a lot of issues. One is the asphalt's just worn incredibly thin. The other, we have those islands made out of grass between the parking lot that, because of how tight the parking lot is, we have tire ruts and tracks through those that creates just a mess. The reality is the whole parking lot needs redone. And while we redo the parking lot, we believe after working with our architects, we can make it a little less congested when people arrive and leave, which would also make it safer for students, parents, visitors in the parking lot. STEM labs, people seem to be in agreement for the most part with these. There's a huge, huge hands-on learning STEM push, STEM standing for science, technology, engineering, and math. And one of the questions or criticisms we received in the comments is, why would we want to fund these? It doesn't impact very many students. I would strongly dispute that. I've gone to many conferences across the state. The goal is to have STEM incorporated in every class, whether it be math class, science class, English class, history class, even an elective. The job market is really, really hungry for students who have critical thinking skills, strong communication skills, the ability to work with other people. And that all ties directly to the ability to solve problems using science, using technology, using engineering, and using math. So that would be used by almost all of our students from hopefully pre-K all the way up through 12. Getting us into some items that are more split and even against renovations, that would improve everything inside the building. I can understand or see how people would think that is a want. I think eventually that would need to take place, but we are definitely taking your thoughts into consideration to find ways to greatly reduce the bond issue. Same thing in the high school and the middle school. A big chunk of that's a big number, would go towards the middle school. Again, middle school, extremely old building. If anybody's visited that building, it's showing its age. So it needs major interior renovations. But again, I understand why people feel like we can get by with how things are. Learning labs, 70 to 29 again. Science, technology, engineering, math, huge pushes on that in the job market, especially with gas and oil in our area. could be something that's extremely beneficial to our students. Here's one again where the majority of people felt like it wasn't a necessity. One of the issues for our school district, especially for extracurricular events, whether those be band performances, plays, sporting events, we don't have a designated main entrance. So this would resolve that. This would be attached to the front of the gym and would create a very clear designated entry point for visitors, and also expand the outside of the gymnasium to create a foyer area for people who arrive. Here's another one where there's not a lot of support on. If you've been to our main offices, whether they're the main office at the elementary school, middle school, high school, not in great shape. Carpet's not in good shape. Infrastructure not in good shape. But again, I can understand why you believe that is more of a want than a need. Fieldhouse has served us very well. Again, it's another facility that's showing its age. And even if we wouldn't build a new field house, this current field house needs massive upgrades. And one of the questions that we received is, why would you want to invest so much in such a small percent of students? And I think the number that was thrown out in the comments section is that only 5% of our students participate in athletics. And this goes for several of the next questions. I had our athletic director pull it for me. We have about 40% of our students that participate in one sport. So it's a misnomer that only 5% of our students participate in sports. So that's why getting our facilities upgraded, whether it's through the bond or through another means, is very important, is that getting close to half of our students play in some form or another in a varsity level sport. And that doesn't even include, the junior high programs, which probably have a higher percent of students who participate. And when we looked at the bond, we tried to address a variety of things, whether it be track, cheering, football, soccer, basketball. We tried to hit on almost every extracurricular. A lot of questions about turf and the safety. I think those are valid questions. A lot of the studies that we looked at and read, that a perfectly maintained grass field is safer than a turf field, but at the high school level, not all of the grass fields are up to NFL or Division I level. And there's some other reports that show at this level, high school level, that the turf fields do have a safety element, at least on par with grass. But totally understand your concerns. We could also look at redoing the football field and messing with the drainage, improving the drainage in a way that, grass would still be a viable option, that maybe we could play soccer on too, because it would be more durable. So again, we understand the concerns with turf and respect those, and that could be something that we definitely look at eliminating. Drainage around campus, if you can see some of our areas, especially on the main entry point, a lot of water sits and causes problems for the asphalt with potholes and just icy conditions. This would help rectify a lot of those things. Football lights, a higher percent are against it. The reality there, whether through the bond or another means, something has to be done. You can see those football lights, they're still on wooden poles. Definitely outlived their I don't know how to say it. They've definitely gone well beyond and served us very well, but they're past their point of being the best means of lighting a field in a lot of different ways. Again, public not in favor of turfing the softball and baseball fields or improving the seating. Also against some of the asphalt and improving the parking. We do have a lot of parking issues. We do have a lot of asphalt issues. We have a lot of areas that are just crushed asphalt that could definitely be improved. But again, there's not a lot of support for that. Maintenance building, again, not a lot of support for that. So I just wanted to go through. I know that was a lengthy Zoom, but I thought it'd be important to be open and transparent and address those things with you. And I tried to answer all the different questions that you had, and I'll look over this one last time. We talked about the athletics. 40% of our students participate at the high school in one or another type of athletic endeavor. The track desperately needs resurface. We're getting close to we're not going to be able to run track meets. We have a large track team that would definitely hurt them if we couldn't run track any longer. The football lights are very close to not being usable. I can't give you a date on that, but there's a lot of issues with those lights. And there is a concern that, one season they won't work. And that would definitely impact a lot of students, a lot of athletes, and a lot of fans that come to the game. Field house, people question the need for a field house. It's not in good shape. The middle school gym and the plumbing issues definitely needs to be fixed. We have a lot of roof leaks. This is the original roof on the high school, and we're seeing a lot of leaks. So we know that the roof needs replaced. If we look at some other neighboring school districts that are about 10 to 12 years newer than our buildings, those roofs have already been replaced. So again, credit to our maintenance department. We've maintained these for about as long as we can. Address the HVAC question, address the STEM question. I think we addressed some of the safety items. One person asked, why don't we just write grants for this? We write grants for a lot of things, but grants are never going to be enough to cover some of these needs, nor are most grants intended to cover those things. And then the last one, we had a few questions that were very blunt, and I'll be very blunt, saying that the district needs to manage its finances better. The reality of that is that our Treasury Department over the years, Mrs. Hisrich, her assistants, and now Mr. Thompson have done a fabulous job. They've won 9 consecutive Auditor of the State awards. So we know, because people come in and audit us, they're doing a great job managing those finances. The reality of the situation is there's a lot of needs, and they do benefit students. There was another question saying nothing on here benefits kids. And I appreciate you sharing that, but that's just inherently not true. Everything on here benefits students. There's not a single student that wouldn't benefit from these improvements. And a roof leaking impacts education. HVAC issues impacts education. The ability to use the money that we're spending to repair those HVAC units, that's money that could be used for education. Sinks and toilets not working, that impacts education. Security setup, how the buildings are structured as far as letting visitors in the school, that does impact education. Not being able to host events like track, that does impact students and the things that they enjoy doing. So the goal here was to sit down as a team with a lot of different people and make sure that it impacted education. We also know that it impacts you as taxpayers, and that's not necessarily what we want to do, but we also want to be able to offer a great educational product and a safe environment for the students, your kids, our kids, of the community. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold some public meetings to try and get more input from you, see how we can reduce the bond down to what we can relatively agree on our essentials, and run it again and hopefully communicate better. I need to do a better job communicating with you and find a way to reduce it. But want to be as transparent as we can. I thought it was super important to show you the results of the survey. I know this was a long forum for this, but I felt like it was important to share everything. If you have any questions, don't hesitate reaching out. We want to help the students of the district, and we need your support. And really, it's a big ask, but it's not much more of a complicated ask than that. And open to answer any questions. Jets think, Jets care, Jets aim high. Go Jets.